Go.
What's up, everybody? It's time for some Rebel Nerd Radio again. Why does it feel like it's been so long?
I could
Does
have
it feel like it's been a really long time for you?
It did. Actually, it did. It felt like it was like we were been out, like it was the same hiatus we had to take for Japan. I felt
Yeah,
like for a minute
just
that we were like,
damn.
yeah. But at least we're back,
We are. We're back.
and the weather allowed it.
And yes, and the weather allowed it. And now we're back to talk about what we were supposed to talk about last week. And that would be the last story arc of Andor. Hence, we dub it the Road to Rogue One. Yeah. So here we are. We're back. So, other than work, which apparently has been crazy for you, what have you been up to?
Yeah. So the reason why we didn't have a show last Tuesday was because we had storms come in, and that's pretty much been the narrative for the past few weeks. Is that just storms, storms, storms? Um, we um, we actually, it's been so much in this area that actually this weekend for Memorial Day weekend, I was actually supposed to be off all weekend and not be on call and not have to go to work, not have to do any of that stuff. But unfortunately for me, it got so bad that the people that I work with and my boss all called in and said, "Hey, is there anybody that can come in and help?" And luckily for me, Saturday morning I had nothing planned, so I actually volunteered to come in and help on my supposed to be my weekend off. And so yeah, that's what I did Saturday during my 3-day holiday weekend was help with storms. So yeah, but other than that, I know not last Thursday, but the Thursday before that, we did start our Cyberpunk series, which
That
was
is right.
fun for those of you who haven't gotten
We
a
got
chance
another
to
one coming
see
up
it yet.
this Thursday.
And we got another one coming up this Thursday, which is good fun. Yeah, it's yeah, other than just enjoying the holiday weekend and trying to get some much needed downtime and get away from the storms, which I was not able to do. As you can see, I'm still in the middle of the I'm still in this space in my house because I'm still in the remodeling stages of the other room and the cleanup and the doing different things. So yeah, it's been kind of busy doing projects at home, which is kind of nice. I mean, every once in a while sitting at home and not having to go anywhere or be anywhere is kind of nice. That obviously that wasn't this weekend because too busy with storms, and we had barbecues and pool parties and all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah, not much of anything. Been working and oh, did I see any movies this week? Let's see. Between the last time we met and now, I think I saw Thunderbolts again.
Again?
Yeah, I think I did.
Wow.
But also, I went to see Mission Impossible, new Mission Impossible.
Oh, nice. How was that?
What's that? What's that?
Well, how was that?
It was good. I mean, it's a solid movie. Um, I don't think I'd go see it again, but
Hmm.
I mean, I'd seen all the other ones, so I kind of felt obligated. Uh,
You gotta complete the cycle.
I have to. I have to watch. I have to watch all of it. But no, it was a good, solid movie. There were a couple of things. I went with my son-in-law, and there were a couple of things we were discussing about it, about like things that they just kind of didn't explain. And it was like, yep, but it was decent. It was decent. New Karate Kid comes out this weekend, so I'll probably go see that.
Nice.
Um, and I started watching the MC. Well, I guess it's kind of part of the MCU, but it wasn't like it's a TV show, but it's not on Disney Plus. But it was Agent Carter. I started watching that,
Oh, nice.
and I got through to the end of the first season, and I haven't picked up the I haven't picked up the second season yet. But then, my son Blue has a new podcast out, and it's called "I'm Going to Teach You How to Live," and it's about the TV show, the sitcom "How I Met Your Mother." So I've been listening to that podcast, and then I started like I'm like, okay, now I need to start watching How I Met Your Mother again. So I'm kind of in the middle of that too. Um, what else? What else? What else? Me and Spencer did. Speaking of Spencer, I don't think he's in the chat room. We'll come back. We'll come talk to the chat room here in a minute.
We'll come to chat in a minute.
Me and Spencer did another episode of the Comic Den on Sunday, and we talked about the brand new issue number 1 of Superman Unlimited, which is written by Dan Slott. And so that was a fun episode. That's
Very nice.
pretty much it. I haven't really been doing much of anything else.
I'm kind of like I said, I'm kind of the same way with all
Yeah.
the storms and stuff. I've been pretty busy with that, and then when I'm not doing that, I'm trying to do home improvement projects. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. Not really anything else exciting going on.
We swear we're not normally bored.
We're not really this boring. We just Matthew says he's never. Okay, let's go to the chat room here real quick.
Right.
So Matthew is here. There's Matthew. There's Taco Cat. Hello, Taco Cat. There is Steve Spawn. And there's Brennan. And Tina is with us as well. I guess she's going to go see Mission Impossible on Friday. Matthew is saying he's never seen an episode of How I Met Your Mother. That's crazy. Have you ever seen it?
I've watched a few episodes, but I've never really been into it.
Man, the show is great. How are you not watching that?
I've heard it's pretty good, but it's like one of those things where I've binged watched shows before, but like when you watch it too much, it gets kind of boring. Just because it's the same thing repetitive over. There's very few shows that I can do that with. So I have to like watch them for a little bit and then take a break and then watch them some more and take a break. So yeah.
No, it's a really good show. If you should give it another shot.
Of course, my girlfriend says the same thing about Big Bang Theory. I should watch it all the way through, but holy crap, there's a lot of seasons of that too.
Well, that show's great too.
Yeah, I've watched episodes of it, and it is a funny show. It's a good show, but I just never sat down and actually watched it like all the way through.
I see. Well then, have you ever watched Parks and Recreation?
No.
I don't know what I'm going to do with you.
I don't know. I have to have time to like do the things that I just normally do, let alone try to get into TV shows and binge watch TV shows and things like that. Sometimes it's just I just don't have that kind of time, especially this time of year. Like I said, with the storms and everything, and they've been pretty. I mean, they've been pretty pretty strong. This weekend, like I said, I wasn't on call, but Saturday I still went to work. But like the Tuesday before, we had a huge storm that, or like the Monday before, we were supposed to do our normal Tuesday night Rebel Rock Radio
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
We ended up having a bad storm, and we had massive wind. I never did hear how bad the wind actually was. But we had, I think they said about 20 minutes east of us, they recorded a wind gust of 85-mile-an-hour straight line winds over a large area. And we got my area that I work in got hit pretty hard. And we had a lot of like major circuits where there was over thousands of people that were out at a time. And so, yeah, it took a lot of time to get all those figured out what was wrong, get them repaired, get those people back on the power. And it was just one of those things where you work 24 hours the first day, and then you might work another 24, or you could work 18, or you could work 16 trying to get it all back together. So when you're working 24 and you take a 6 hour break and then you come back in for another 24 or 18 or whatever, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time, especially this time of year. It's just this time of year, springtime is one of my busiest.
Yeah. That sounds
Yeah.
like too much work. Not cool. You know
Yeah,
what
but
though?
it helps
Ever
me. It
since
helps me. It helps me afford my fun toys,
there you go.
though.
And helps you afford something I'm going to. We got an announcement to make. Since we
Yes,
have
yes, we
last
do.
met, we have both um, solidified our trip to Rebel ScumCon in Dallas. Almost said Tulsa, in Dallas in
Mhm.
August.
Yes,
So we both have our tickets, and we both have our hotel.
hotel room setup. Yep.
So yeah, and it's actually we're going to be in the same hotel.
Hmm. Cool.
But
Awesome.
yeah, fun
Awesome.
times. Rebel Scum Con. We'll see how a Star Wars convention is that's not Celebration.
Or run by Repop. It's actually going to be run by some different people.
Oh
So
wow. Wow.
yeah, this will actually be my first con outside of Celebration, because I've gone to like some of the local ones here in Wichita, but I've never been to like the big towns like Kansas City or Dallas or any of those like big cons like that. So this will be fun to see how things are run from a different perspective, to see how much different they are.
Yeah,
It'll be really cool to compare. And I'm Matt says he's going to go to Rebel Scum Con too.
on Saturday. Yeah, well,
Yep,
we're going to
he's
be
going on
there
Saturday.
all 3 days.
Yep, we will be there all 3 days, Matthew, and I think Mari's going to be there as well as Matthew should know who I'm speaking of. Gary Moore, Mr. Gary Moore will be there. Matthew, you know him from like Holo Chronicles and the streaming Star Wars guys. You'll know that
Hey,
you know them.
I think Spencer's going to try to make his way down too.
Spencer. Oh,
I think
awesome,
I think
awesome,
he said
awesome.
he's going to be in that area already for a family trip, and he's going to try to head over to the con for at least one day. So
Hmm.
that'll
Well,
be
Spencer,
kind of
if
fun
you're in the
time.
chat, buddy, and you do make it, which I don't know if you are in
I
the
got to
chat. I don't
remember to
think
get
you are.
more
Not yet.
stickers made before
Yeah. Oh
August.
yeah. We got to get it. We need to get a bunch made before we go, because we want to do Matthew. I'm looking at you. Looking at you, buddy. We need to get a bunch made because the swag meetup and exchange was awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. We've actually got everything put into a scrapbook and photo album from all the swag that we got, which that'll be something that'll be a show my
so
thinging episode. And
I'll get more of these made, and then I will also order some of a couple of new designs.
nice. Nice. But yeah, yeah, usually we try to do the swag thing. And like I said, when we went to Japan, we seriously underestimated how much we would need. And we ended up getting 100 of the Rebel Rock or Rebel Nerd Radio stickers and our own stickers that my girlfriend had made up. And we did not have enough. So we're gonna have to get a lot more made.
Yeah,
Now, granted, for this, I don't know how many people show up, how many you know what usually the attendance is, and I guess this is the second annual, so we're really not going to know.
We should also
But
get some business cards made up because the sticker, while they are good swag, does not have our website on it.
socials
Yeah.
does not have our social.
So if we get a
Yep.
business card made and maybe one with a QR code, might not be a bad idea.
Matthew.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so speaking of socials, since we brought that up, good segue there.
Mhm.
You can meet us if you already or you have not already. You can go check us out at bio.link/Rebel Nerd Radio. And I'm going to pull up what it looks like here. There it is. So as you can see there at the top here, it has all of those socials like YouTube and Instagram and Twix, TikTok, which we don't really use a lot much, Facebook, Blue Sky, Discord, all that cool stuff. And then we've got our main links like our YouTube channel. We've got a Discord there. If you haven't joined Discord, you should really check our Discord. We've got your really, man, I think it's Restream. I think it's a Restream issue.
Could be.
Anyway, so yeah, we've got our Discord there. We can go check out our merch there. And then, of course, we have our Patreon that you can go check out from there. And that shows you all kinds of cool stuff. It's got our exclusive content and our early access content. And what else? You get cool stickers. I'll get those sent out whenever I get the new ones made to our current patrons. And then you get your name called out on the show. So without further ado, we would like to give thanks to our current patrons: Dave Brown, Kelly and Chris Olson, Justin Hensley, Charlie Kirby, Chantel, Matthew, Steve, Spawn, Brennan, Taco Cat, and our newest patron, Brian. Thank you for your patronage and helping us keep the lights on.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
everybody. Appreciate
so
you.
you say we are not transmitting on Facebook? Is that what you said?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, we're not on Facebook or Twitter.
That is odd. I'm going over to Facebook now to see what the hell's
So
going on.
the other announcement we have to everybody is that we're actually going to be going back to StreamYard instead of Restream because we've been having issues.
Like
So
this.
it really, you folks aren't going to notice it that much. It's really not going to be that big of a thing for you. But other than the quality and where we transmit to, will probably be even better. But I was telling Steve in text that we're actually not transmitting on Facebook or in Twitter right now, which we normally do. Which once we go back to StreamYard, it'll probably fix that. So
Yeah,
yeah, just
I just
technical
really don't
difficulties.
like this platform because it's problems like this.
Problems like this. Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, most of you folks probably won't notice it. It really won't be a thing for you. Like I said, you won't see it. But yeah, hopefully things will improve and be a little bit better from that aspect. We hope. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But yes, thank you, Patreons. We really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we're really hoping that some of you can make it down to Rebel Scum Con, and maybe we can all have a meetup. If you make it on Saturday, we can all get together and tote around and cause some chaos and shenanigans and find a few squirrels to mess with. And just for reference, I will not be bringing my Jedi outfit down there because there is no way in hell that I'm going to wear that heavy outfit in Texas in August. It's not going to happen.
Texas.
I'm just saying that's not even close to feasible. I may have my new robe by then, but it's still going to be too hot for that.
Nah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
The only thing I'm not going to is I don't put these not so sexy legs in shorts. I just don't do it. So
Well, I'll be wearing
it's
shorts.
just
I ain't gonna be in
I'll be
Texas without shorts. But
I'll
boy,
be wearing cooler gear. I'll be wearing cooler gear, but it won't be. It definitely won't be shorts. So. But anyway,
yeah.
enough said.
Well, with that in mind, we are now ready to show you our
Our
thingy.
thingies.
Show you our thingies. So
Show
I'm assuming
your
you have
thing.
something to show off.
Oh, of course.
I do.
I still have stuff left over from Tokyo, so yeah,
Oh, okay.
I've got
Now
stuff.
I've got.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
I think you have a new chair because you still have the tag on
I do have a new chair.
it.
No, go ahead. Show off your thingy. Go ahead and whip it out.
Woohoo! um, one of the goals when I was in Tokyo was I wanted to make sure that I've got this sideshow piece. Most of you have probably seen it, but you didn't get a chance to see it. Maybe I don't know, you've been seeing pictures of it on the internet or whatever, but I actually was able to get a hold of one by chance, which was awesome. And for those of you who know Mari or Frosty Britches in the chat and part of our Star Wars RPG and our now Cyberpunk RPG, I was actually able to acquire one for her too, which was kind of crazy because the chaos that was Tokyo, it was hard to do, but it is the Sideshow Collectibles Japan exclusive Darth Maul.
Very nice.
And it's the concept art version of him instead of the actual from the movie version, which is cool. That's the outer jacket, and this is the inner jacket of the whole thing. So yeah, there's that. And then I'll open it up here. And oddly enough, his lightsaber didn't change. His lightsaber is actually still the same, which is cool. So then, oops, okay, that's all. That's awesome. Um, so yeah, his inner jacket is just a little bit more detailed on the other side, which is kind of cool. And then you open it up and you get all these wonderful accessories. This is so awesome. I haven't even got a chance. I haven't even opened this yet. So just so you know, I haven't even opened this booger yet. So yeah. But yeah, there it is right there. And let me see. I have not, yeah, like I said, I have not opened this. So the plastic may not want to come out. I'm hoping I'm not going to drop this. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get this off here. So I can show you a little bit better what he looks like. Yeah, I can. Okay. It's not taped. Good. Because I didn't bring my knife. All right. Let's see here. He's still got the plastic. He's still got the plastic on his head. But let's see if I can. Yeah, there we go. So there you can kind of see the sculpt of the head, and you can see how his spikes on the top are different. But that kind of gives you an idea. And his lower cape and all this lower stuff on him is actually soft goods, so that's kind of cool. And then his hard plastic on the armor on the outside. But you get all that, and then that's basically the only head sculpt you really get is that right there, which is awesome. But you also get like lightsabers, and the cool thing about it is kind of like the other ones that I've got. His regular lightsaber is in there, but if you'll notice the cable that goes to it, this is for his lightsaber actually lights up, and so both ends of his double-bladed lightsaber you can illuminate with either the in motion blade or with just a regular blade like that. So that all is available for it, which is awesome. And I think I've got a concept that I want to do with this. Is it going to give you guys a little preview? Is that I want to, with him, I have a version of him from Sideshow that is the actual movie version that we got. And what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about putting him together this version of him together and his actual movie version of it together, and doing a display where they actually look like they're kind of combating against one another.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like a mirror type of thing, or it's two different Darth Mauls, like the concept version and the movie version, trying to fight one another. So I'm thinking about putting that together as something to so yeah. So yeah. So
Ah,
Darth. So yeah, the Darth Maul concept art figure from Sideshow. So there you go.
very
That is my thing. I got that from
cool.
Japan. I got that from Japan. Very impressed. Very happy that I got a hold of it because it's an awesome, awesome piece. And yeah, so yeah,
So my thingy
there.
is not Star Wars related. I got another book from my Batman graphic novel subscription, and I actually don't remember what books they are. So let's see. Okay, well I got two of them, so there's that. Oh, nice. So here we are. I've got yet another copy of the Hush Saga.
Nothing like getting duplicates, right?
Heck yeah. So I've got part one and part two of Hush.
Nice.
So yeah, this subscription is called DC Comics: The Legend of Batman, and these are all exclusive to this subscription. So the covers are exclusive and whatnot. So yeah, more Hush. Woohoo!
Nice.
By the way, while we started our thingy, our show and tell time, Spencer came in the
Hmm.
chat. So
Nice.
Spencer, we
I don't
already
think
we
we
already
have.
mentioned the newest episode of the Comic Den. We talked about that earlier. So yeah, and
Yeah.
I will put a link to it also in our show description. So if you want to go check that out and haven't already, then you'll have it there.
Hmm. Yeah. Matthew
Anyway,
says he's going
that
to try to
is,
get a photo. Matthew says he wants to try to get a photo op with Sam Witwer and Katie Sackhoff. That would be pretty cool.
that would be nice. Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know if I'll do any photo ops this time. I think we're just going down for basically just to see like what people. I'm sure people are going to have collectibles available, so we're going to go check that out and then just kind of
Yeah.
hang out with everybody and have a good time. And yeah, yeah, get my Star Wars celebration slash Star Wars con fix in after that, and hopefully more will come up before Los Angeles comes up. So
Yeah. I would like to get a couple of those photo ops, but
mhm.
I probably won't be able to afford it. But it's all good. Well, that's it.
Oh, actually, I do have one other thing. I do
Oh,
have one other thing.
you
I
got
have to
another
edit.
thing?
I have another thingy. I forgot about it, but I have another thingy, and it is not Star Wars related. But for you, those of you who grew up in the 80s and loved kids' movies from the 80s, I actually was going to show this. If I can get it. There it is. This is actually from Zero Foxtrot. And what it is it's, if you'll notice, it says Never Say Die. So it's their 40th anniversary of the Goonies memorabilia t shirt from
Never
Zero.
say die.
Yeah, from Zero Foxtrot. So I'm a huge Goonies fan. I love Goonies, love the movies. I actually own a 4K version of it. Plus, I own a tiki mug of One Eyed Willie, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So, but yeah, from Zero Foxtrot. Like I said, it's part of their line of 40th anniversary for the Goonies. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, now it is time to talk Andor, the TV show, not my cat. We're not going to have an episode about my cat.
You folks ought to be proud of us because we're 30 minutes into the show and we're already on the main topic.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
That's what happens when you stop doing the news. Gotta say. Just got to say.
Yeah,
All right.
and we have a productive thingy session.
And we have a productive thinking session. That's right. So we're going to do, I'm going to run through a quick, brief synopsis of the episodes that we're going to talk about. This is the final story arc of Andor. So this would be episode 10, 11, and 12, also known as The Road to Rogue One, or you could call it the Rogue One prequel. Anyway, episode 10, it was called Make It Stop. And this happens after the events that happened on Gorham. Luthen meets Lonnie in a park, and Lonnie tells Luthen about the Death Star and how he has been looking at the files for Dedra, and that he is pretty sure that Dedra is onto them. So Luthen says, "Yeah, we're gonna protect you and your family," but that does not happen. Luthen actually kills Lonnie and goes back to his shop, starts destroying the whole communication system, only to be stopped by Dedra herself. She comes in, shows him the box that he originally went to Ferrex for, and basically says, "Yeah, we know it's you." So she is about to arrest him. Luthen attempts suicide, and
It sort of works.
almost makes it, but then Dedra calls in the Imperial medical team, and Kleya is kind of watching in the back, and then we're going to talk about this later, but we finally get some flashback scenes.
Yes.
Who the fuck Luthen and Kleya are? So we get that. We'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that. We're doing summaries, and then we'll come back to that part.
We are doing summaries. So so we get that. We meet Kleya, like basically tears ass through the hospital that Luthen is at, finds Luthen and takes him off life support and kills him. So that's episode 10. Episode 11 is Who Else Knows, and we see Krennic confronts Dedra. Okay, so in the previous episode, Dedra got arrested for going to the hospital and
for snooping.
Yeah,
for snooping where she shouldn't have been.
Yeah, she got arrested for the whole Luthen thing. Going to anyway. So she's in an interrogation room, and she gets confronted by Krennic, and he's all like, "What do you know about the Death Star? And where did you hear the name Galen Erso?" And he's pissed. And then Kleya is running for her life because they're all looking for her, and then Cassian and Melshi and K2SO, after they're done with their little game of poker or whatever the hell it was they were playing, because it wasn't. I don't think it was Sabak. Was it Sabak?
It wasn't Sabak.
It wasn't Sabak.
It wasn't.
Anyway,
I'm assuming somewhere in the near future we will get like a new Star Wars Sabak style game.
Yeah, maybe
based on whatever it was they were playing.
So anyway, they get recruited to go rescue Luthen, basically, and so they go off to Coruscant, and they get to the safe house and realize that it's Kleya and not Luthen, and she tells them about the super weapon, and they leave, or they get ready to leave, and they're going to take her to Yavin 4, but the Imperials show up because they've tracked her to where she's at, and then K2SO comes in and tears ass through the Imperials, and that was a lot of fun. Um,
That in my opinion, and oh well, we can come back to it if you want.
we
But
can come back. Yeah,
that in my opinion was K2SO's hallway scene.
yeah, that was pretty awesome. Um, okay, and then we get to the very last episode, episode 12, and that one is called Jeddah, Kyber, Urso. And the team gets Kleya back to Yavin 4, and Dedra ends up in a prison. Um, let's see, what's some other stuff that there was a lot going on in this last episode.
They had a
Uh,
lot to. I mean, they had a lot to wrap up. I mean,
like
really, they did. They had a lot to wrap up.
Dedra's
But
boss ends up uh, Dedra's boss ends up realizing that he's about to get arrested, so he commits suicide.
mhm.
And then it kind of ends with the rebel leadership is like, oh, they got some information from Saw that this informant wants to meet, but will only meet Cassian, and wants to meet him on Kafrene. So there's some foreshadowing there, and then we get the final scene where we finally get to see B2 is okay. They do it, they go back to the same where they left them. So we see B2, and then the final cell of the show, we see Bix holding a baby.
And that was at the point that I immediately text Steve and go, "Holy crap!
Yeah, yeah,
Holy crap!"
that was
And
some
I
holy crap.
actually, I think if I remember correctly, Steve, I actually finished it before you did.
Oh yeah, you did. You
Yeah,
did
I finished it
because
because I said, "Holy crap!" and you said, "Don't say anything, don't say anything," because I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
seen the end
Because
of it.
after we got off the air, I went out and got some snacks at the convenience store. So I did not immediately start watching. I
Hmm.
was I was several minutes behind everybody else.
I stayed up not only watching that, but as soon as it was over with, I was like, "Yeah, I got to do the customary. I have to do the thing. It's probably going to be customary from now on. Is watching Rogue One right afterwards."
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So what? Let's just go over general impressions. What did you think of these episodes?
When I said earlier that in like previous episodes of the show that we've done, when I said that every time they did a new episode for this, they stepped it up every time, and these did not disappoint. These really did not disappoint. They did such a great job, and I didn't even know this until later. I found this out when people reported it on the internet. But Kleya, this was actually her first acting gig.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
This is like
she
she
had
was
never
never.
acted. She had never been in a show. She had never done any acting before. And dude, she
Yeah,
freaking
like
just knocked it out of the park, man.
they wanted somebody else. They wanted somebody else for that role, and she was too busy, or whoever it was too busy. She's like, so check out this girl. She just got out of acting school, but she's really good. And they're like, okay, whatever, we'll just take her. And yeah, she was
She killed it.
yeah.
She killed it 100%.
Hey
And
Joy.
yeah, she killed it 100%. And I thought for sure, hey Joy, I thought for sure that she wasn't going to make it, and she ended up
Oh
making
yeah,
it.
no. I
But
thought
I
she was
mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. It's like it's setting up more and more for me. Like there may be a story where we see Bix, Kleya, and maybe a few other people. What's her
not
face?
Luthen.
Not Luthen. No, obviously not Luthen. But what's her name?
Val,
Uh, Mon Mothma's sister or
Val,
cousin or whatever.
Val. I think
Val.
Val.
Yeah, Val. It
Yeah.
almost feels like to me that they could set up something
Oh,
where.
and we have somebody else new in the chat room, or at least somebody I don't remember seeing before.
Oh,
Mike
hey
Sadler,
Mike. Hey Mike.
welcome to the show.
Um, yeah, she 100, like I said, 100% nailed it. I couldn't have been more impressed. I mean, like I said, I think
Oh,
everybody in this
another one.
last three, I think
Oscar.
everybody in
How's it
these,
going, Oscar?
hey Oscar, everybody in these last few episodes, I mean, I think they just nailed it. They nailed it hardcore.
I
And the
gotta
only
say,
thing,
oh, go ahead.
No, it from Didra, from her expressions with Krennic, and what she was going through when she found out she snooped a little bit too far, and it's going to cost her her freedom. And Luthen's send off was a little wonky for me, but I still respected it because he pretty much didn't have any other choice. Because he didn't want to give up information. And we all kind of knew that his death was going to be there. So we knew a lot of major characters were going to fall. I kind of half expected more major characters to go away and we lose a lot more of them. But actually, it was,
Jumping off,
it,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it just, but I think the way they ended it, like I said, I think Kleya and Val and Bix and a lot of those characters, I think maybe we could possibly see them in future projects, which would be awesome. I think that would be fantastic to see them in
Good
future projects.
Oscar. I like that.
Yeah, Luthen's Rebel Angel. Yeah, exactly. Except Luthen's not there anymore, so I mean, what do
Yeah,
you do?
know.
Yeah. But I mean, his backstory. I know we said we were going to talk about that. His backstory was not what I was expecting. I expected something a little different, but it makes. I guess it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I got the impression, I don't know, maybe you missed it and maybe I just need to watch it again, but I kind of got the impression that he was like a rebel officer, or not a rebel officer, he was an imperial officer of some sort.
Well, he was an Imperial,
Yeah. Huh?
just not an officer. Um, Jumping off what you said about Luthen, um, I knew he was going to bite it in these episodes.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I did feel like that death was kind of anticlimactic for him,
Hmm.
but it didn't bother me. Um, I did want to say something about Kleya though. It seemed to me, at least more so than previous episodes, including season one, Kleya kind of took more center stage in this arc.
Yeah, well, this
Almost
whole
like you
season.
could call this the Kleya arc.
Yeah. Well, this whole season, because like I was thinking about last season, how much of her did we actually see, or how much
Not,
of her did we
not
actually hear
much.
from? Not much, not really, not much until she was doing like running the or helping him run the thing, or like sending out orders or doing
She
everything.
seemed like kind of a secretary.
Yeah, she really didn't have a big role in the first season, but in this season, she really, yeah.
She,
And somebody said it in the thing earlier. Joy. Val and Kleya have an interesting relationship. I agree, and that's why I said I think that there might be a possibility of seeing them again in the future because they really do have. They really there is an interesting thing going on there, dynamic going on between. That's the word I was looking
see,
for. An
Matthew,
interesting dynamic going on between them.
I kind of thought something like this would happen.
Yeah, I
Like,
did too.
I thought
I
that
did
was going to
too.
be the deal, but
Yeah, I did too. Now I'm kind of glad they didn't because we wouldn't have got to see Kleya do the thing that she did in the
yeah,
hospital, which I think was awesome. And the thing is it kill the thing that kills me is he leaves all those artifacts behind, but he also leaves his ship behind, which his ship was like awesome.
yeah,
So he leaves that behind. So
yeah,
I was 100% certain that something would happen to him, and it had to do with his ship, like he would blast his way out or he'd use it to do something with it. And
yeah,
yeah, it was him cutting his own stomach open was kind of very anticlimactic for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm not saying it was bad because, like I said, it set up the whole Kleya thing. But at the same time, I was like, I expected a little bit more from Luthen's death.
I was, but yeah, I was really glad to see the way they used Kleya in this.
Hmm.
I thought it was,
Come to find out, she was way more important to him than what they kind of let on.
yeah. So that brings us to these flashbacks that we got.
Hmm.
So we finally get a sense of who they are. You know, we get like you said, Luthen was an Imperial, not an officer, but he was an Imperial, and
I actually like Joy's comment. I didn't get that. I didn't get that correlation, but now that she says that,
I
I
love
do agree with
Luthen's
that.
line about there only being two items of questionable provenance, and it was him and Kleya.
He was
Yeah,
kind of yeah, he was kind of drawing that arc between the two of them. I think
yeah,
he was trying to divert the attention away from her, saying that, kind of saying that he's the only one that was involved, and he kind of did it in his way with the bravado of the speech and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
then you turn around and he's cutting his own stomach open. I'm like, really? That's it?
But yeah, so the flashback scenes. Um, see, I think that I had more of an impression that he was against the Empire because of something they did to him, like blew up his planet or killed his parents or something like that, and that's where he got. But I think this one was actually more interesting. Like I don't know, he's just like he saw what he was involved in, and it disgusted him.
Hmm.
And destroying this basically destroying and taking over this kid's planet. Um, and then him taking her under his wing, and I'm just yeah. I think Troy. I think he was a sergeant.
Yeah.
Um, I was
I
just
know
glad.
he had some kind of rank, but I don't think he was. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I just think I'm just glad that we got some sort of backstory. Like they didn't just
Hmm.
leave that to our own imaginations.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad to see that.
I am too. But then they used his backstory to kind of build Clay up. And somebody said
Right.
in the comments earlier that what was it? Where was the comment? It was it said Tony Gilroy said, or Oscar said this, that Gilroy said that after watching Elizabeth's performance on the first season, Gilroy expanded Clay's character development. So basically, they used Luthen's backstory, put her in with it to make them this kind of adopted father daughter thing and
Yeah.
going after the Empire together because of everything that happened, because of his guilt and because of her, being left as an orphan because of what was going on. So he took her in and she wanted to fight. She wanted to stand up and she wanted to fight. But I think he felt like, you're not doing it right. I need to teach you. I need to help you. I need to educate
Yeah.
you, which I think turned him into the activist that he had become. And I think I almost kind of like they fed off each other, which is cool. I mean, it's a good thing. They kind of taught one another, and so that's, that it really was a good. I mean, everybody was speculating because he would always carry that stick around, and everybody's like, oh, is he a Jedi? Is he this? Is he that? Blah 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 blah. Turns out he was just an Imperial sergeant who got disgusted with what the Empire was doing.
Yeah.
And I did, the thing about it is that it seems like lately in some of the shows they were building up this kind of empathy for the Empire and saying, look, these Imperials have families. Even in the first season, it was, you have these Imperial officers who have families. They have wives and daughters, and or the Imperial, the women had, the female officers had husbands, or they had kids, and blah blah blah. But the thing about it is that they built up the humanity of them and tried to give people some type of empathy for them, seeing as how they were, trying to make them more human. And then second season just ruined all that.
Oh yeah. No,
I
they
mean, just completely ruined all that.
they
I
made them
mean,
look like just pieces of
they
crap.
made them look like pieces of crap. Like they made them look like the empire that I remember from the
Yeah.
original trilogy,
Yeah.
and just ruthless and murderous, and that
They
guy's like,
made you
wow.
realize they made you realize that it wasn't just the Emperor and Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader that were evil. It went all the way down to like the lieutenants it was just these were
Well,
just
and if
bad
you
people.
think about it, in the original movie, the real bad guy, the one that was really like the guy that was trying to do the most damage and who was really ambitious about using the Death Star to bring everybody to heel was Tarkin,
Yeah.
because we never met the Emperor. And Vader was just, kind of doing his own thing, and he cemented himself as being evil because of the way he, just the things that he did on his own. But when it came to the body of the Imperial Alliance, or of the
The
Empire itself,
machine. Yeah.
the machine itself, Tarkin was that representative, and he was just ruthless. He's like, "Oh, we got the information we need. Oh, just blow the planet up anyway, just to make a statement."
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, which is weird because, like, in Rogue One, he was like, we need a statement, not a manifesto, so they said they didn't want to blow up entire planets. But then by A New Hope, he's like, screw it, let's just blow up planets. Now they know that we're around. They know the Death Star is a thing. Just blow up planets for whoever decides to go against us.
Yeah.
And they blew up Alderaan, which was peaceful, no weapons. They were just part of the Imperial Senate for all they knew, and they blew it up anyway. So I mean, Tarkin was a representative of the machine, and this
Yes,
show
boy.
really, what's that?
It was an empire of awful middle managers.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much it. That's pretty much it. But yeah, this part of it re-solidified why the Empire was so ruthless and was so bad, because of people like Krennic, because of people like, and I hate to say it, Didra was kind of part of that too. I mean,
Oh
because at
yeah.
the beginning,
Yeah.
before she lost Cyril, she was all kinds of, and really, she was part of that. It was, Krennic was part of that. Even her boss was part of that. I mean, they were all part of this ruthlessness of
Oh,
the
the whole
Empire, and
ISB, man. The whole ISB they were
oh,
trouble.
they were terrible. They were terrible. And you could see even some of the lower officers in, like, some of the earlier episodes. The one they brought in that said he was going to handle the whole crowd and everything, and Didra really didn't have control over him. He brought those people in just to antagonize, so that way they could cause a riot, so they could cause the malfunction, so they could cause things to
Yeah.
go bad. And so, I mean, like I said, throughout this whole season, that's kind of what you get, is you get an idea of what the empire is really about. And there may be some intermingled, mixed good people like Lothan and, people like that who realize they've made a mistake, who realize they've done bad things. Even, I dare say, like, if you go to Solo and you look at Han Solo and his wanting to be part of the empire, be a pilot, but then he ends up getting thrown in the mud, and he starts to question why they're on planets and why they're doing things. Obviously, you get some of those people that separate and they realize what they're doing is bad. But in this case, in this show, it was like, okay, we've got people that are just straight up ruthless, and that's all there is to it.
Right. Um, Also, I feel like there was a lot less Andor in these episodes of Andor.
Until you get to the last episode.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, until you get to the
Um,
last episode. And I
because
mean,
but check this out. You get at the end of the last arc. Basically, I mean, he's like, I'm kind of done with this. I don't want anything more to do with this. And then we jump a year later, and it's like, oh, he's all in.
yeah, but he was still, in a way, he was still resisting it, though.
Yeah.
He still didn't want to do it. And even you get a part where I think it's Val, is that Val goes to him and says, hey, you need to catch up with her before it's too late, before the end. You need to find her before too much time passes and everything. Because I think Val knew. I really think Val knew what Bix was actually going through and what was really going on with Bix. But if you think about it, the reason she left is because if Cassian had found out that they were having a baby together, he would have 100% been done.
Yeah.
I think he would have left the rebellion to go take care of her and the baby.
Oh, yeah. I
It
don't
would have
doubt
been
that.
it would have been the end of it. And then who knows what would have happened with the Death Star? Who knows how that whole storyline would have gone out?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was still on the fence, but yeah, by the end of the last episode, he's just like, all right, let's do this, and
yeah. And I think he was treating the Rogue One mission. Let's just call it the Rogue One mission. Let's just
Yeah,
say that, the events of Rogue One. I think that was going to be his last mission, but it ended up. Well, we all
it
know how
was
that
his
ended.
last mission.
Yeah. Yeah. Joy says Deidre was being accidentally added to the signal chat. No pun intended.
Yeah, and how much?
I'm. Did we lose Steve? Everybody in the chat, did we lose Steve? Can you still see me, or did we lose Steve? He's frozen on my screen. Oh, there we are.
Good
Yeah, no,
God!
it did it to you again. I
So
was still there, I think.
yeah, this is restream, folks.
Yeah.
Um,
This is why we're switching back. So this
See,
just so
now I
you're
gotta
aware.
now I gotta figure out, are we still streaming? Can you guys still see us on YouTube?
It says we're live, and I'm still seeing the time thing is still going. So
Yeah, I'm checking
anybody in the
out.
chat,
Yeah,
are
it
we
says,
still there? It's frozen, frozen. Am I frozen or is
yeah, I
Steve
see us
frozen?
on YouTube. I see us. Yeah, I see us on YouTube.
Okay. Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
this was.
Joy says she thinks we lost you again. So apparently I was still there.
Yeah, I think it's a
I think
lot of these
it's
problems. Like,
restream.
see, okay, I don't have problems with technical difficulties because it's been that way ever since we started doing this show back in 2019. There's always
Yeah.
some sort of technical difficulties. It's getting worse now, and it's getting
Yeah.
like annoying technical difficulties, and
Yeah.
I think that's why we're just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and switch to the old platform again, because we've had our problems have gotten worse since moving over to this platform.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like today, like, of course, like for those of you who, if you don't watch us on YouTube or if you don't get a chance to, which you probably should, because that's probably one of our better areas that we actually get
Well, most of our viewers are
participation and stuff
from
like most of
YouTube.
our viewers come from YouTube.
Yeah.
But we also try to transmit on Facebook and X. And unfortunately, today, Facebook and X didn't
Yeah,
work for some reason
they're
under
not
Restream. So
working. Yeah,
they're
they're
not
not.
working. So
But
yeah, we're just gonna have to you'll have to watch it on the rewind on Facebook or X if that's the case,
yeah,
which I don't think you can. I don't even think on X you can even do that. So
no, you
uh
can't. You can't.
no. So where were we? Where were we?
We were talking about Andor and his last mission.
Mm-hmm. And his last mission.
Yeah, it definitely becomes his last mission. Um, we don't
What
get
did you
in.
think? What did you think of the last like series of shots, like the slow walk into fate, and then we get to see where a bunch of these characters end up, like Didra, and then we finally get to see B2, and we get to see Bix, and we get to see, where a lot of these people wind up. I mean, what did you think of that?
Yeah,
Did you did you?
the way they shot that was just spot on. Like, I don't know the words for what I'm trying. It's like it. I mean, it was great. Just like the way they did it was like, yeah, that's the way you should have shot these last scenes. Just all
Because
slow.
we all know where he's going. We all know
Yeah,
what's about
yeah,
to happen. And it's like he's doing this slow walk and kind of wraps up all of the characters from the show,
yeah,
but then it transfers over into him going into basically what is to be the events of Rogue One. I mean, seamlessly.
yeah. It's just very, yeah. It's very deliberate in how they shot that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, Matthew. Perrin is a player.
yeah. We're not gonna
100.
mention him because he's a lame
He's got
character.
his hands in a couple cookie jars right there, buddy.
Yeah, he's just a lame character. He did nothing for me in
I
this.
was I was kind of I was kind of wondering what did happen to him and her daughter. Like if they ever got a chance to reconcile. And maybe that's something that could be like a post Return of the Jedi, kind of a post Return of the Jedi kind of thing that we might hear about afterwards, like after the war's over, they get back together and they,
Yeah,
maybe they reconcile, they're different or something like that,
but
no, not knowing for sure, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
Joy, I was happy to see that scene because I remember, and I think we talked about this on the
We
episode where
did.
we talked about the first Star. We're like, they just left them. They just left
Yeah.
poor B2, man. Come on.
And we were questioning everybody. That was the episode before this one for us. Is that we were all kind of what were our predictions as far as
Yeah,
what was going to happen to our character. Now we did predict that Luthen was going to die, which we kind of that's kind of dumb because we did know. I
yeah.
mean, we knew that was coming. That wasn't a big
That
thing.
was not. Yeah, you didn't have to really think too much on that one. Luthen was
No,
going to die.
no. But like B2, I was like, nah, I don't think. I think we saw the last of B2. I don't think we're ever gonna.
No, we got to see B2 again, and we did.
And then we got
And
to see B. I mean, we got to see B2 ever so briefly. And it's like he had a
B2 is going to
girlfriend for
have a
all they
little
were.
play. B2 is going to have a little play buddy.
Yep, he's gonna have a little buddy or girlfriend or whatever the case may be.
I
And
mean,
then
he
that's
did
when we
have a
get the
little
shot of Vix.
robot buddy that he was playing with.
hmm hmm
So, yeah, it was good to see B2.
And then, like I said, we did get to see Piran. And I think they did say, I read somewhere too that Tony Gilroy did say that Didra was in the same prison that Cassian was in season one, but she was in the female version of it.
Right. Yeah, it would not
Yeah.
surprise me.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, same prison.
um, and I wonder, like, at that point, the Death Star is almost done. So why would they have needed those people at that prison?
I mean, yeah, I mean, well, I don't know because the secret was almost out already. And
Oh yeah.
if you watch, I mean, maybe it was the fact that it wasn't completed yet and they didn't want people to know about it because they didn't know how much longer it was going to take to complete it because they hadn't done a test firing yet and the domain dish was still out of it. So maybe that stuff, maybe that part of it hadn't been completed to the point where they were confident that it would work,
Oh
or they
yeah.
didn't even know if it would work.
Well,
And
not only that, but now that you think of it, they're going to need backup, like
yeah, I mean,
replacement parts.
well, yeah, and you have to think about it like this too. You have to think about it from this perspective too, is that not only was the first one completed, but the second one was in it was in the phases of being built as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they didn't want people to find out about the second one because if they knew there was one, I mean, obviously they were smart about it. They didn't want people to say, "Hey, you've got this one ultimate weapon of destruction. Oh, by the way, there's two of them, and the other one's bigger."
Yeah.
They didn't want people to know about that.
I kind of wish we could have got more more Saw Gerrera, but we did not.
He still had a pretty cool scene. I mean, he still had some pretty cool
We
scenes
did.
in there. Yeah, and the scene of him in his full Rogue One outfit, looking out the window over Jeddah, and seeing the Death Star over there, knowing that eventually that's where Cassian and Jen were going to end up. That part was pretty cool.
Yeah. Um, which episode was it where he and Mon Mothma had a little argument?
Oh, they have their I think that was
It was in this arc, wasn't it?
yeah, it was in this arc. I can't
Yeah.
remember if it was the first one or the second one. I want to say it was the second one.
Yeah, I don't think it was the
I
first one.
don't remember. I know he was on a hologram and they were having a back and forth conversation, and then she turns to Bale, and her and Bale have the conversation about what they need to do next, and what's going on and what their next steps need to be given
Yeah.
the information that Cassian gave them, because they pretty much were ready to throw him in jail because he went against their wishes again.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When he went to rescue Kleya, he went against their wishes again and wasn't following orders.
Well, because they still didn't trust Luthen.
No, no, they didn't trust Luthen at all. And then when Kleya got back, they explained the situation and what happened, and found out that he actually got the information of what it is they've been looking for the whole time, and what it is they were trying to do the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's how they found out about the Death Star, and that's when they roll right into that, and Jen Urso and Galen Urso, and well, actually it was more Galen Urso and the Death Star and all these different projects that they had found because of Dedra, because Dedra essentially screwed up.
So I don't know why I thought of this, but there's this interesting transformation that you get in these last three episodes. Specifically, I'm referring to Mon Mothma. You've got before this, you've got this high level, almost a sense of royalty, rich, uh, she's like this imperial figure, this big figurehead, and she looks like she's got money, and she's just really fancy looking because she's a senator. She looks like a senator, and she's a politician. And then here she kind of has this like almost battle hardened resign to her,
Hmm.
like this battle hardened resigned leader. She's like, yeah, she's still the leader, but she looks like she's been through some shit that we didn't get to see.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell that too, because it wasn't in this necessarily in this 3 episode arc, but in the last one when Cassian rescues her, and she actually sees people getting killed, and the expression on her face, which we
yeah,
talked about before, the expression, you could tell that there was, how serious it had gotten at that point, that there was
yeah.
actually some bad stuff going on, and then I
Like
think in
like
this,
you almost feel like maybe she still thought there was a diplomatic solution to all this. But then you get to this, and she's in, essentially this cave on Yavin 4, and she just looks like, she looks beat up. She's just like,
well, and you can tell that too in her conversation with Saul, because she's like, "Oh my God."
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think Bale kind of kept her grounded in that respect. Is that
yeah.
knowing that Saul is going to do what Saul does, and they're not
Well,
really going to be able to control him.
because at this point, he's still a senator.
Bale, yeah, and they don't know that he's part of the rebellion.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't. They don't know that.
They have their suspicions because otherwise they wouldn't have blown up Alderaan. But by the same token, he's still a member of the Imperial Senate.
Hmm.
So he still has that air of dignity about him where
And
she just looks like, fuck.
you could be kind of right on that aspect too, because if you think about it, by the time A New Hope happens, they've dissolved the Senate,
Yeah.
and all the regional governors have control,
And
which is literally word for word the statement. The regional governors
that's
have
just
control
the
over their
day
territories.
after this.
And this was like, no, because the events of Rogue One happened, and then
Oh,
A New
right,
Hope,
right.
and then
You're right.
and then we go into who. So between the ending of this show and the events of Rogue One, and then A New Hope, is when he dissolves the Senate. So now, if you think about it, well, because they said to people, they said Andor, by the time you're done with the show, will change how you see Rogue One. Rogue One changed how we saw A New Hope. Now Andor will also change how you look at if you watch the season all the way through, which is a lot of watching, but if you watch season one, season two, Rogue One, and A New Hope, it'll change your entire perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because
So,
Mon Mothma's speech, and then maybe they're possibly thinking that Bale was part of it, or how many other senators or how many other people were actually starting to go away and break away from the Senate because of the speech that she made, and said how bad it really was. That soon after, the Emperor said, "Okay, you're all done. That's it. You're done. And if you say anything, if you do anything, we're going to kill you." Because at this point, they knew about the Death Star. They're like, "We have the Death Star. We have it. It's ready to go, and we can and we will come after you."
so I got to ask, and I want to ask those of you in the chat room as well. How did season 2 change how you thought of Rogue One?
Like I said, for me, it changed Rogue One and it changed A New Hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it changed both of them because I mean, honestly, this show melded right into Rogue One. I mean, as
Oh
soon as
yeah,
you see him, as soon as you see him board the aircraft, you knew where he was going,
yeah. He's
and that
heading to
led
the
into the
ring.
next events. Yeah,
Heading to the ring.
he's headed to the next event, and it seamlessly goes right into it. Well, literally, Rogue One back in the day did the exact same thing to New Hope. It was literally shot for shot. The Rebel blockade runner standard four leaves, and then the next thing you know, A New Hope melds into Darth Vader Star Destroyer is picking back up and not letting him escape.
Right.
They tracked him down. They didn't let him escape, and it changed Rogue One for me literally because of the last scene. Now that we know that Cassian had left a baby behind,
Yeah.
left
It,
the possibility of being a father and leaving the woman he could have been with for the rest of his life behind,
yeah.
and he literally sacrificed
It,
himself, knowing that that was probably not going to work out.
that's the thing is
That's
like the biggest thing. The biggest thing that this, I don't know if it really changed my impression of Rogue One, but to your point, it changed the idea of the sacrifice.
Mhm.
Like, because
it
all
almost
throughout,
changes
because
it.
all throughout the second season, and especially the first season, he's kind of back and forth as to really if he's in this or not.
Hmm.
Like the first season, he's not. He's just there for money.
Yeah.
But it, yeah, I'll get to that, Joy. That is another good point. Um, but all throughout the second season, he's got like this back and forth in his head. Does he really want to be a part of this? And then to the point where he's ready to leave and go have a happy ending with Bix, and she doesn't want him to make that sacrifice.
Hmm.
But then she leaves, and maybe one day we'll get together again. So he's got that in the back of his mind, and all of these sacrifices that he's making, I feel like he's making them for her. Like,
Yeah.
she wants me to do this, I'm doing this because she wants me to.
Hmm.
And of course, a little bit is, a lot of it is, of course, the cause. He does have a sense of duty there, but really, I feel like there's a sense that he's doing this to make her happy because he thinks it's what she wants him to do.
Right.
And then he goes off to do the suicide mission, and it just kind of like, man,
Well, and that's the thing
that's
too, is that
messed up.
I think it was messed up because if you think about it, he sacrifices himself in the mission and dies not knowing that he has a baby, not knowing that he's
Right,
a father.
right.
And for me, that changed a little bit because he will never know that he
Yeah.
actually had a child out there, that him and Bix had a baby. And
There's another Andor out there.
there's another Andor out there. And to me, it was like, oh my God, now I got to watch this guy sacrifice himself in a suicide mission, knowing that he has a baby out there that he'll never know about and he'll never meet.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
and
talk
Bix
about just
and Bixel, yeah, and Bixel never see Andor again. Like,
yeah, and she doesn't
never.
know that he sacrificed himself.
Right, right.
And,
And
and had she,
the
I mean,
kid that's
obviously
never
you
going to
can't,
know their dad.
yeah, and I mean she couldn't predict that any more than he could. But the thing about it is what happens when she finds out that he's gone, and then she has a baby that she didn't tell him about. I mean, is that going to leave a guilt trip on her? How's that going to
Well,
affect
here's the
her?
thing, though. Did she know about that baby already?
I think she did, one
I
hundred
don't know
percent.
because we're talking a year after.
Well, Val, well, yeah, but Val also knew. I think Val also knew. So if Val knew,
Well,
she
Val knew
knew.
where she was at.
Right. But because I think Val was in contact with her.
Yeah. So
And I
Val
think
knew
she
about the
was
baby.
sworn, not to say anything
Yeah.
But I think that Val knew what Bix was going, why Bix really left, which is she knew that she was pregnant and she knew that she was going to have that baby, and she left because she knew what Cassian's reaction to having the baby would have been, that he 100% would have been out, and she knew how valuable he was.
That's a good point. That's a good point that you make also, Joy. Let me pop up what she's saying. First of all, Joy says that it didn't really change it much for me, just gave him more context. Yeah,
Yep, yep,
yeah.
yep.
You kind of know what his life was like before
Hmm.
what happened here. And then she said that Cassian was raised to do the right thing ultimately. So yeah, I think a lot of his upbringing, particularly with Marva, is also why he does what he does.
Hmm.
He wants to make, I mean, some sense of wanting to make mom proud.
Hmm. Well, and I think yeah, her and Luthen and even Bix kind of knew that he was more valuable to the rebellion and what their cause was than he knew, or that he was willing to admit, because he was so ready to get out of it in so many points. But they saw the value in his contribution to trying to stop the tyranny, to try to stop the terror, to try to stop everything that was going on. And she knew that, which is why she left. Luthen knew it. That's why he was so adamant about keeping him there.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I agree, Joy. Joy said I'm pretty sure she left. I'm pretty sure she left because she found out she was pregnant. 100%. Not too many toddlers bopping around Yavin for good reason. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I really do. I
I mean,
really
yeah, I
do.
don't.
In my mind, I really do think that she left because she knew she was pregnant and she's getting ready to have a baby. And she knew how that would affect Cassie.
Yeah,
And it would 100% affect his reasoning for wanting to leave the rebellion.
yeah. I mean, you don't want your baby to grow up
Well, not only do you not
basically
want your baby to grow
on
up, you don't want your
ground
baby to grow up
zero of
like
a
that.
war.
Yeah, but also, one of the rebellion's most valuable assets in a spy, a soldier, and everything that was Cassian. She didn't want him to leave because she knew that the cause of relieving tyranny in that respect was more important than um what she felt that way anyway. I mean, I don't know. If I knew I was going on a suicide mission, I guess I would question whether I would want to know that I have a kid out there, floating around. But then at the same time, it would have made it harder. Not only would it have made it harder, but it might have changed those events to where it wouldn't have turned out the way it did.
Yeah,
And I kind of feel like in a way they really didn't highlight it a lot, but her being with the force healer, if she's a force healer, there's also a chance that she might have been able to see like the events coming up. And maybe she advised Bix that his contribution to the rebellion was going to become super important, and if he left because of it, maybe there was a chance that those events wouldn't take place. So I mean, they didn't really say that, didn't even, it's just my speculation, so don't take that as gospel, but I kind of feel like that might be also might have been a contributing factor.
yeah. Um. So, like, we knew Luthen was going to die. We had a pretty, we. I mean, although it didn't happen, we had a pretty good idea that Kleya was going to die, but she didn't.
Hmm.
Um. But like, what about other like non other characters in the series that we don't already know made it because of the movies? Like, what were your thoughts on the characters, like the way things turned out for everybody else? I guess would be the way to. What is it I'm
um
trying to say? The
well,
characters.
obviously when it comes to like outside of the relationship with Cassie and Bix and how that worked out, for Bix, I mean, I feel like she finally reconciled with like her PTSDs in a way,
Maybe.
because maybe because of the baby, she found a new purpose, and so maybe that helped her with the healing process. Um, as far as like Kleya is concerned, obviously that's up in the air. We really don't know how that's going to turn out because she was loyal to Luthen, but the people on Yavin didn't really know whether they could trust Luthen or not. But I think bringing them the information and ultimately leading to the victory over the Death Star and kickstarting the rebellion in a hyper way, I think maybe makes them trust her and maybe make trust what Luthen was trying to do and maybe kind of gave her a pass. But obviously, we don't know where she goes from here. You know, she probably becomes part of the rebellion, but we don't. We ultimately we don't know at this point where she goes from here. I'm almost certain that given her performance and how essential she became to the storyline, I'm almost certain that we will in the future get some type of medium that deals with her, whether it be book form, maybe possibly even a TV show. That would be awesome. I would love to
Oh
see
yeah.
that because I think and Val's character, we really didn't get to see where she goes from here, other than just being a leader of, you know, maybe a platoon or a group of people in the rebellion. So there's a very good chance that we may see these people again in some type of way. And I'll be honest with you, the overall success of Andor and how great this show was and how great the response was. I think we're definitely going to, this may be the benchmark for future shows going forward. Like they're going to actually change how things go from here. And I don't know if you saw this, but kind of a tidbit of information for those of you in the chat and for Steve, I don't know if you saw this, but IMDb, Andor actually achieved a record and a milestone as being in the history of IMDb. They are the first show to have five consecutive back to back episodes that ranked higher than like 95% for 5 episodes straight.
Yeah, I mean, this is was definitely a show that no. This is definitely a
I
show.
just I just saw that, Matthew. No,
No.
let's not go there.
This is
Let's not go
definitely
there.
a
Let's not
show
go there.
that is going to make the folks at Lucasfilm. I mean, at this point, they know they have to up their game.
I mean, Dave, I hate to say it because I really did like the Acolyte and I loved the show. I loved the premise of it. I liked most of the stuff about it. It had a few issues, but I really don't think it deserved the hate that it got.
Yeah,
But the success of this show, I think, is kind of a thing saying, "Hey, okay, here's what didn't work for whatever reason, but here's what did." And um, going forward, like I said, this is going to be kind of the gold standard that I think Lucasfilm is going to be judged on from here on out. Because if you ask a lot of people of all the movies that Lucasfilm under Disney has put out, Rogue One is at the top of everybody's list. I mean, not top of everybody's list, but near the top of everybody's list for the
yeah,
most part. And now with the success of this show, looking at the entirety of Andor because it was so well received in the first season, and then the second season just, I mean, just nailed it. I mean, just nailed it. And then you look at the success of Rogue One and how it folds into that, and looking at all these years later, you know, now that we see the seamlessness of the shots and how they all mold into one another, and then going into A New Hope as well, and looking at how it changed A New Hope and how it affects the storyline of A New Hope as well. Um, I think we're going to see, like I said, I think this is going to be kind of the benchmark that's going to represent what what kind of medium and how they're going to do it going forward. Now, the only thing about that is that I hope people understand that shows like Skeleton Crew and other shows like it are a necessity because we want, you know, they want to satisfy the adult, the older fans like us, you know, that
mhm.
are of the more mature variant of the audience. But at the same time,
Mature. Are you sure you're talking about us?
well, okay, I use that term very loosely.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Um, but We all, they also want to bring in different types of fans. They want to bring in newer, younger fans as well. So, I mean, you can't have this type of show and being able to bring in younger fans that will actually know about it. But at the same time, this unfortunate, the unfortunate thing about it is it's good, but it's unfortunate at the same time because this show was fantastic.
Hmm.
But you can't sit your kids, your grandkids down and watch the show and go, "This is why Star Wars is great. Watch this show," because the kids are going to look at it and go, "This is boring. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand the context. I don't understand this. I don't understand it." But yeah, it is such a great show, and it's going to be the show to which all future projects of Star Wars is judged on. And I dare say that this probably passed The Mandalorian as being their benchmark of quality for the Star Wars universe.
Okay, Oscar. This is where my ignorance you're going to see. I don't know who that is, but apparently he is a very popular person. I'm guessing. I don't know. Andor is Star Wars's Caravaggio masterpiece. I don't know who that is.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think he's like a painter.
Okay.
Joy, I've actually made that reference before, but instead of calling it a buffet, I say it's a restaurant. You can order anything off the menu that you want. Yeah, pretty much you can, and it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, basically, the Star Wars is a restaurant, and it's there's a menu of different things that you can order. You can have anything off the menu you want, and you can pick and choose what you want from that menu. The only thing that I added to that is that it's you don't go to a restaurant and find people walking over to your table and pointing out your food and saying that's disgusting. I don't know why you eat it. It's just
Yeah.
everybody orders what they want, and everybody should be free to pick and choose what they like about it. But yes, it's kind of the same reference. It's you can leave what you don't like, take what you want, and everybody gets to decide what's right for them.
So Matthew, you're right. There are still going to be people like that that like Star Wars. If it isn't laser sword story, non Skywalker, it's not Star Wars to them. I get that.
Yeah,
I don't agree with it. I get that. And they can have that opinion. That's fine. If that's the part of the buffet they want to eat from and they don't want to eat from anything else, I mean, more
yeah.
power to them.
I mean, we have that. I mean, we really do. We have that. We have all kinds of references to laser swords and lightsabers and
Yeah.
Jedi versus
Just
Sith.
not an
I
Andor.
mean, that's all there. It's just not an Andor.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'm obviously. I mean, look up here. I am on the side of laser swords, lightsabers, Jedi versus Sith. I'm on that. I'm on that
I,
committee.
I'm
I would
there
say.
for I'm there for both.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed Andor. Andor. Both seasons were fantastic. I loved Rogue One. I don't have a problem with venturing from that because it expands and
I
enriches the
mean,
story.
yeah.
It enriches the story to the point where it makes that stuff even more worth it.
I mean, I if you guys read my newsletter, clearly I like Rogue One.
Hmm.
And we are not just talking about Star Wars because let me show you. So I've been doing this thing where I talk about my favorite movies of the or write about my favorite movies of the century, like from 2000 on. And I just finished that list up yesterday. And let me show you. You can disagree all you want, and I'm fine with you disagreeing with it.
Hey, 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 hey! To each their own. It's what
But look
everybody
here,
likes.
look here, look here. Number one favorite film of the century. There it is. I
Rogue One.
clearly like Rogue One.
Clearly, I mean
So
the original podcast name was Rogue One Radio. So I mean.
Yeah,
There is that.
yeah. I
There
like
is
Rogue
that.
One. I
Yeah.
like
Oh
Rogue
no,
One.
I think by far, I think Rogue One is the best medium, is by far the best show or the best movie that that Lucasfilm under Disney has put out. And speaking of which, I have to throw this out there. I have to throw this out there for people who are watching and listening, and I had to throw this out there because I throw this out in quite a few Facebook comment groups, and I got kind of mixed feedback on it. And I'll just say mixed feedback.
Okay.
I commented in one group, and then it kind of translated to other groups. I said everybody was like, praise Tony Gilroy, praise Tony Gilroy for this, praise Tony Gilroy for this, praise Tony Gilroy for that. And what I said was, is I said, praise Kathleen Kennedy. And I said, you cannot, and then underneath it, I put into context, I said, praise Kathleen Kennedy because you cannot blame her for the bad without giving her credit for the good. Because you can't say, oh, she did all this wrong, she did all this wrong, she did all this wrong. And then when something like Andor comes out
Dude,
and it's hailed as being the best,
you got Andor, you got Rogue One, you got Rebels. None of that would have happened without Kathleen Kennedy.
well, and I said that in many groups. I said you cannot blame her for the bad stuff and not give her credit for the good stuff at the same time because she is head of Lucasfilm.
Okay.
And it, like I said, it got mixed reviews. Some people agreed. Somebody said, "Yeah, that's true." Some people said, "Yeah, yeah." Obviously the crude and rude um, um, characterizations of her and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you can't do it though. You cannot argue that point. You cannot argue the point that she is just as responsible for the good stuff as she is. If you say it's bad, just because you say it's bad doesn't mean it's bad. But you
Right.
can't say that this was bad, but this was good, and say, oh, she's to blame for this bad stuff, but other people are to blame for the good stuff. No, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
She is responsible for all of it, and
So Matthew,
I'll die on that hill.
I agree. So Matthew, that is a very general statement because you say old males that are stuck. We are old, both of us. We are old. we are. We are not
Yeah,
young
and see,
chickens.
that's the crazy thing too, because I've heard a lot of people say that. A lot of people say like old boomers like us, and I'm not a
No,
boomer, by the way. I'm not a boomer, by the way. But a lot of people are like, oh, those guys don't. Those guys, they hate the new sequel trilogy. They hate all the new stuff in Star Wars. They're the ones that are complaining about it. I completely disagree. And I'll give you context on that. And you can show this to other people. We are two guys who talk about Star Wars, and we talk about everything Star Wars, from the originals, the prequels, the EU to the Disney era, everything. We talk about it all. And
yeah,
we talk about it to where if we don't like it, we just won't mention it. But most of the stuff that we have talked about, we
we
really
may still
like, and
bring
most
it
of the stuff
up
that we've seen, we still bring it up. And we're the old
because
guys. We're
okay,
the old guard. But here's the thing: there's a certain bunch of YouTubers, and one in particular, that will not be
don't say
named
his
on this
name.
show, but people know who I'm talking about. He's not an old guy with a gray beard talking about it, and he's one of the biggest people on the internet putting down everything that Disney's doing. So
That,
don't sit there and let people tell you that it's old boomers and old guys like us that
yeah,
hate current Star Wars, because that is a 100% bullshit statement. And
yeah,
I'm going to say it like that. It's a 100% a bullshit statement. Look at the people who are actually complaining about it, and look at guys like us who are saying, we don't mind it. We like it. We think it's good. We don't mind women in Star Wars. We don't mind this in Star Wars. We don't mind that in Star Wars. Blah, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah. We like it. We're going to talk about it for the story. We're not going to throw the politics out there. We're not going to throw all the rhetoric that we hear online and the hate and the mongering and all this kind of crap. We talk about it all. We like it all.
But bouncing
So,
on that comment that you said, we don't. If we don't like it, we don't talk about it. We kind of still do
mm,
because, and here's why. Here's why I said that. Even the stuff that either JD or myself don't necessarily like per se, there's still something good about it.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I mean, you're a huge Boba Fett fan, and we talked about Book of Boba Fett and how it was kind of a train wreck.
it was
But we still find things about it that we like. There's things about it that are fun.
exactly.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm going to throw this out there as a collector. If Hasbro's HasLab project of the Rancor that they put out had a saddle and Boba Fett on it with a 6-inch character, I I think it would have sold. I think it would have sold like a son of a gun. But they didn't do that. They gave you some stupid paperback thing, and it was a mess. So,
So,
but if
okay,
yeah,
Oscar says that he was an Italian painter at the end of the Renaissance era, known for his dramatic use of light and shadow. Okay, he's a painter.
awesome, awesome. I thought so. I like Joy's comment. I said much of the hate I see comes from younger guys, at least younger than me. And that's what I'm saying. Is that a lot of these people online are saying, "Oh, it's the old guys, it's the old guard from the original trilogy that hate things like the prequel, they hate the sequels, they hate this." That's a bunch of crap because I own stuff from the first 12 all the way up to new stuff like
Yeah.
Ahsoka. Like right here,
So,
look, I own the Ahsoka. Ahsoka is an awesome character. I love Ahsoka. Ahsoka is great. I have Kamir's lightsaber from Acolyte back here, and before long, I'll be adding his helmet over here because I get his helmet in October. So I mean, to say that it's the old guys or some nonsense like
yeah.
that
So
doesn't
here's some
like it.
stuff
That's a
in the
that's a
chat
bunch of crap.
room. KK pushed Gilroy. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Matt says all the haters that blame everything on Kathleen Kennedy need to do some research. She was a producer or involved in all of the 80s movies that they hold. So that's a fair
Here's
point,
something
too.
I want to piggyback on that for a minute because we talked about this. Because at the beginning of the year, and it seems like it happens at the beginning of every year, somebody comes out with some rumor that says Kathleen Kennedy's getting ready to retire. And if she does so, so be it. So be it that she retires. But I told Steve this
I mean,
offline, and I'm going to say it again.
if she does,
When Kathleen Kennedy decides to retire, I am 100% on board with doing a dedication to Kathleen Kennedy episode talking about all the movies that she was involved with and how some of them shaped
that's
our
a
our
lot of movies,
childhoods.
man.
It's a lot of
That's a
movies. It's a
lot of
lot of freaking
movies.
movies. But I think she deserves just as much credit for those movies coming out and being good and the current Lucasfilm Disney stuff that came out. She deserves as much credit for who is she deserves as much credit for the good that is this current Star Wars universe to the stuff that maybe didn't do so well. And I'm not even going to say that was bad because it wasn't even, I mean, I don't even think a lot of it was, arguably, I don't think it was bad because obviously we've done things to talk about,
Where's the
like
wrench?
the act, huh?
Where's the wrench?
Yeah, where's the wrench?
Somebody's about to get wrenched.
oh, God.
How do we wrench?
The only
Kellen
reason he
can get
says that,
for me.
the only reason he says that, because you'll never find a bigger fan of Han Solo, and that is Matthew. As big a fan as you are of like Boba Fett, Matthew is that big a fan of with Han Solo. So it's a yeah.
You'll never find a bigger fan of Kylo Ren out there.
Oh God.
Matthew is a poster boy for the Kylo Ren fandom.
Shots fired. Shots fired. But
Oscar says he is Gen X. He liked Acolyte and loved Skeleton Crew. Right,
yeah.
Matthew, facts. You are a big fan of Kylo Ren. Yeah, facts. Yeah, let's go back to this. Yeah, I mean, we both
Yeah.
liked him. I would not. I would say. I mean, Acolyte is probably not my favorite,
No.
but there was still some stuff about it that I liked.
Oh, I like most of the stuff about it. I like most of the stuff about it.
Yeah.
And Skeleton Crew was really good. And some people were like, "Well, Skeleton Crew was better than Acolyte." No, it wasn't. It was a different show. It was completely different.
I
It was
mean,
a different
yeah,
type of
the
show.
word using the word better is kind of.
Yeah, it was a different type of show. It was a
I don't know.
completely different type of medium. Skeleton Crew built off of the stories of our childhood, where Acolyte was a completely different style of storytelling, and it dealt with a different type of lore. It dealt with all kinds of different things. And
Yeah,
we don't need to rehash out a lot because you can go back and watch kind of our ending impressions of the Acolyte.
yeah.
Because we talked about how the unfair hate and all the things that happened with that. Um, but as far as like I said, like we were making content, we'll get back to Andor here real quick. When they talked about
Oh
Andor
yeah,
and they
that's
talked
right. We were
about
talking about
how,
Andor.
yeah, they talked about how successful it was. They said that a lot of people are of the mind that going forward, Andor will be the gold standard of how things progress from here on. I don't necessarily think that's the case because I think that while it really should show them a lot of how the future things should go in a way, I don't think everything should be made to the same degree that Andor was made. Because, like I said, there's a lot of people that look at that and they'll go, the show may not be for me. It's not necessarily that it wasn't good or they didn't like it. It was just that that type of storyline may not be something they want to see in a sci-fi fantasy film, no matter how great it was. They want to see the lightsabers. They want to see the blasters. They want to see space battles. They want to see all this stuff. And while I do think they should take lessons of what worked and what didn't work, or more or less in this case, what really worked, and maybe they should use that in the future.
Well,
But at the same time, you can't you can't attract new fans. You can't attract people who are not necessarily like super fans like us. You can't attract those people to watch it on a regular basis and attract them to new medium that they may not know by saying, "Oh, well, we're going to go do this," and you don't know who the hell it is, and you don't know why they exist.
see, you don't even have to do like when I talk about Lucasfilm and they need to step up their game. I'm not necessarily saying they need to keep doing stuff like Andor.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is they whatever era or theme they want to explore is for one, it's going to make somebody happy and piss another person off. But you need to look at it from an Andor perspective. And what I mean by that is the writing, the visuals, the show running, the
Hmm.
acting. You
Hmm.
need to look at it from a perspective of they just need to up their game because you whether you like Andor for what it is or dislike it because there's no space swords in it, either way, you cannot deny that it is some of the best story writing that
Oh,
Star Wars has done in
it's some of the best story writing, cinematics, acting, special effects. I mean, because there was plenty of special effects in there. There was such intrigue in the
the
stories. There was
themes.
such the themes that went along with it, the deep dives into the characters, the deep dives into like the lore and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, it's all there, and I agree with you. It's just that I think that like I don't think that the stories they're going to be able to keep them. The only reason I'm saying that is I don't want them to get to the point where they become over dependent on the seriousness of the show. But as long as they keep that kind of rhythm going, I think they'll be fine. But I don't want to see it be because I'm concerned that it won't be because the whole reason why they did stuff like Skeleton Crew and why they did things like The Force Awakens and they did those kind of things is because they were trying to bring in new fans to be a
Right.
part of the
And
universe
it
and
doesn't have
not
to be super serious to be good writing.
yeah. Let's see, Steve says I feel Star Wars has to get away from the nostalgia reliance, which I think Andor kind of does. Yeah, well, yeah, and that's just because of the
To a
timeline,
certain
but
extent, yeah.
at the same time they didn't over I don't think they were over dependent on the nostalgia because I think they wrote their own story outside of the nostalgia of the original trilogy. But that was why I was kind of hoping that Acolyte would be more successful than what it was because I wanted to see them step into those other timelines. And I think the High Republic has potential. I really do. I think the High Republic would be fun. I think the High Republic has a lot of that lore and that potential in there. It's just that they're going to have
Um,
to use they're going to have to use what really became successful from Andor, and they're going to have to incorporate that into a good, solid, fun entertainment story that could be told during the High Republic era.
I think just based on the director of choice, I think the Dawn of the Jedi project they're working on is going to be a good uh, place to look into that.
Yeah,
because you've got like James Mangold is a fantastic director. He has done some stuff that is just it. I mean, it's just absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. Hmm. I'm looking forward to that because I think them telling the story of the Dawn of the Jedi, I think will be pretty darn cool. And like I
Yeah.
said, we hopefully we get to expand to that. Like we get to expand into that area. We get to expand into the the High Republic, but the Old Republic, during the Revan years,
Hmm.
the war between the Sith and the Jedi. I hope they get into that. I really kind of want to see that. But I think people underestimate also too that stories like these could actually add context to say the sequel trilogy as well to help fill in the gaps. And I said that before as much in Facebook groups, and then people don't agree with me. They said there's nothing they can save those movies, nothing. And I'm like, you know what? I heard that same thing come up when the prequels came out. That nothing can save the prequels because Jar Jar Binks sucked and Jar Jar messed it up and his writing was terrible and acting was terrible and, blah, blah. And then they come out with the Clone Wars and they come out with things like Rebels and they come out with things that help the storyline along to fill in those gaps. And I think the same thing could be done with the sequels if we give it enough time to cook a little bit and give it time to people to kind of to see, hey, maybe there's some value in this and maybe we can expand the story a little bit,
Yeah.
which is what I hope for. Another reason why I say us old guys don't hate the sequel trilogy because I don't care what people say about it. I still enjoyed it. And The Last Jedi is an awesome movie. Now maybe it doesn't fit the lore, maybe it doesn't fit the storyline a little bit, but it was an outstanding movie. And yeah, I agree that they had their problems, but I still think they were great movies. And but like Andor enriching Rogue One and by default enriching A New Hope, I think the same thing could happen because the Clone Wars enhanced the prequels. It could happen. It could 100% happen.
Hmm. Okay. So, I think that's a good place to stop. But what are we going to talk about next week? I think you and I talked about it a little bit,
Hmm.
but I can't remember what we stopped on. Are we going to, like next week, are we going to talk about, are we going to do Tales of the Underworld next week, or are we going to jump into our Starship segment?
I think we were going to do Tales of the Underworld.
Okay. So next week we're going to talk about Tales of the Underworld, the new animated series. That neat.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I still have not watched it yet.
I
Uh,
have. I've been waiting because I wanted to finish the Andor arc,
I
and I
wanted,
honestly,
yeah,
I kind of wanted to finish our Andor stuff. So
I wanted it to be fresh in my mind.
yes, yeah.
Um,
So I'm actually going to probably watch it this weekend, so that way Tuesday we can have a good conversation with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, we are going to, I think we're going to start on our discussion about different starships of the different factions.
Yes.
Um, I thought there was something else we were gonna. Oh, you know what? We were gonna at some point we were gonna do another um, because you and I actually have. I don't think have actually done it. We were gonna do a recap of the movie Rogue One.
Mm. I think we could do that after we do our Starship series. Give kind of a break from Andor and Rogue One and move into that, and then we can do that a little later.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Um, you know what else we've never done? We've never done a or have we? Have we done a recap of like the whole Skywalker saga yet?
In general, no.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
Nope.
That's something to think about. Okay,
We can
but
keep that. We can keep that. We can keep that as a
okay, so
as a
next week is Tales of the Underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what else? I just thought of something else that we were discussing doing. We're gonna do a recap of the last season of Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, we need to do that too. Uh-huh.
We could probably do that after Tales of the Underworld.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I need to rewatch it, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, so do I. Okay, so Tales of the Underworld, Clone Wars final season. Yeah, the Starship saga is going to be a long one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
A lot
Anyway,
of good Starship to talk about.
yeah. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Thanks for the two new guys that showed up in the chat room. Thanks for talking to
Yes,
us about
welcome, welcome, welcome,
Andor,
welcome.
and hope you come back next time. And as always, may the force be with you.